Hello, I'm Arush Naveed with the Observing Fullerton podcast. Today we are here at WTLC's location in Fullerton, and we will be interviewing CEO Mark Lee, and he's going to be telling us all about the history of WTLC, and he'll be giving us a walking tour of the office. So let's go in. Hello! It's very nice to see you, Mark.
Yes, come on in.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here today.
Of course, thanks for coming by.
Alrighty, so where should we start? Where are we right now?
Oh, so this is our main entrance lobby room. So when we have clients come in, they usually come in here, they get checked in, and we have a waiting area where we then page staff member, and then they could receive their services here.
Alright, so let's do a brief introduction of WTLC. What is it for people who have no idea, that
Oh.
have been here?
Sure. Well, we are a nonprofit organization, and we help survivors of both domestic violence and human trafficking. And that includes all of our programs and services, including our housing, supportive services, and we also actually go out to the community to educate and inform people about domestic violence and raise awareness about the issue.
Alright, so when was WTLC founded?
We were founded back in 1976, and that makes us the oldest domestic violence service provider in Orange County and the third oldest in the United States. So we have this long history and legacy of providing our critical services to survivors.
Awesome, so let's see what you have here then.
Okay, so
Let's have a
again,
tour.
so this is our our lobby room, but we always have snacks and water available for survivors because we want them to be as comfortable as possible before they receive our services. So if you're hungry, don't want to grab a bag of chips.
Right now, I think hands are full. We'll grab
Hands are
one
full?
later.
Okay,
Thank
make sure you grab
I'll grab
one.
a Tootsie Roll. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Okay.
All right, so here is one of our hallways. So maybe I'll take you to our 24/7 helpline office. So one of the programs that we offer is this 24/7 toll-free number right here, and we always have staff members. And we always have staff members around answering phone calls 365 days of the year, 24 hours in a day, and that's probably one of the biggest gateway how survivors get connected to our services.
So
Okay.
what is the number? Where can people call to get connected with you?
The number is 877-531-5522. They may know someone who may be experiencing domestic violence. They're welcome to give us a call, and we give them information, and we provide educational resources. So it's not just for survivors, it's for anybody who just wants to get more information.
Awesome, that's great to have such a cool service available for people, who are interested in learning more.
Oh, definitely.
So what led you to getting involved with WTLC?
My career has always been in the nonprofit sector, and how great is it to work for an organization whose mission is to help survivors of abuse and human trafficking. So the mission really inspires me, and also for me, my personal passion is to work for a nonprofit organization to help improve its efficiencies and effectiveness. And to do that here at WTLC, I'm so blessed to be able to have that role. And I don't think I'll be in any other sector for my job than in a nonprofit.
So this is just out of personal curiosity. We always say CEO, executive director. I never actually know what that means. So could you describe a little bit of what your role is at WTLC?
Yeah, it's a role where one would assume that all the great things that we do falls on the CEO, but no, it's really the staff and the team. I have a great team here, so they do all the heavy work, they do the great work, and I'm just there to kind of support the strategic vision behind the work that we do. But again, all the greatness is done by our team members.
Awesome. That's a humble CEO. All right, so what's next?
All right, so right here, so this is very exciting for us. It's our sensory room. And come on in. So this looks really cool and kind of something that typically you would see in an organization like ours. But we have this state-of-the-art sensory room for survivors of trauma and abuse. And we decided to offer this to supplement traditional talk therapy. And historically or generally, sensory rooms are used by kids who are on the autism spectrum to help them decompress, reduce anxiety. But we wanted to know if the utilization of a sensory room could also benefit survivors of trauma and abuse. And what I mean by that is, if you could imagine, you receive talk therapy. Because you're talking about your abuse with your therapist, naturally, would you get re-triggered? Probably yes, because you're talking about your abuse. So having them then go back to work or whatever they do after their session effectively doesn't make sense. So now we allow them to come in here after their counseling for them to decompress, use their senses to get their minds off what they just talked about so that they could be in a better place to go back to work or to the next thing that they have to do for the day. We also have kids use our sensory room as well because, as you know, as a kid, if you witness violence at home, that's also very traumatic. So we've seen a lot of benefits outcome with kids utilizing this sensory room.
Yeah, that's great. It seems like there's been a lot of thought put into the sensory room.
Yeah, do you want to try? So this is one of our equipment.
Yeah.
You could go ahead and try it. This is our touch board, and if you
Oh, wow.
and if you run your hands through, you feel the sensation. There's different settings you could do to change up the patterns and the colors. But that's our touch wall, and we also have our our infinity tunnel.
Where does this go?
It goes on forever.
Infinite tunnel.
Yeah, our infinite tunnel, and then right in front of us is our bubble tube. It's just really calming to look at. And
Also, the hair, like the
and
audio is very calming.
Oh yeah, definitely. And everything is meant to just kind of really engage all of your senses so that you could keep your mind off of what's really triggering you.
Just got this. What is this, by the way? I'm very curious.
You want to jump on it?
Just jump on it? Okay. Is that what you're supposed to do with this?
It's a giant beanbag. I'll hold this for you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Go
Just
ahead.
jump?
You could it's just a giant beanbag. Oh!
That was fun.
You could also do that. Yeah, definitely. And then this is just fiber optics that you could pull on, braid. Again, you're using your your touch to like play around with each strand. So, you could do whatever you want with it, whatever you feel like. I know some staff also utilizes the sensory room for their 10-minute break if they just. It's okay. No, you're good. Yeah. So sometimes when this room is not being used by survivors, our staff also utilizes this room because when an advocate is helping a survivor, there's this thing called vicarious trauma. So your trauma is being now transferred to me as your advocate. So I need some time to be able to decompress what you went through, right? So some staff do utilize this room as well.
That's great. It's good that it's available to both. How often do you utilize this room?
I sleep here every day. Just kidding.
Good nap room.
Well, from time to time, I do like to be in here and just kind of, if I have back-to-back meetings and I need a mental break, then I do come to the sensory room as well.
Yeah. No, it's a great room. I wish we had this one too. Alrighty, so let's continue the tour.
Sure.
And while we do that, could you also explain who is eligible to, receive assistance with WTLC?
Oh, great question. Anyone who identifies as a victim or survivor of domestic violence or human trafficking are able to come. There are other organizations that might require some kind of credibility or proof. We don't require that. As long as you self-identify, I'm a victim, I need support, we say yes, come to WTLC. So there's shouldn't be any other barriers than that.
Right, because it's already hard enough for survivors to come and ask for help. So just the fact they're doing that is good enough.
Yeah, why add more barriers? Because it's like what you said, it's already so hard and difficult to pick up the phone in the first place. And if we say, well, you need this document, no, you can't bring your pet, or you can't do this, then they're just gonna not receive the services. Why make it harder for them?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's good that WTLC keeps it so easy.
Yeah. Okay. So right here, this is our teen room, and this is for our older kids to be able to come in and utilize. Come on in. So we do offer, counseling for children, but also after school program for the kids, especially the kids who are residing in our shelter. They come over here, they get homework help, they do enrichment activities, and other kind of activities that we do here. So we have a lot of books, some TV, and just kind of cool activities for them.
Yeah, this is a very random question, but it smells so great at the facility. I mean, is this something specific you all use?
It's our proprietary fragrance. No, just kidding. So I'm glad you brought that up because I don't know if you ever heard of something called trauma-informed care, but as an organization, we went on our journey of being more trauma-informed for quite a few years now. And I think generally people think about trauma-informed as how I communicate with survivors, and that's really important. Mm-hmm. But we took another step further by looking at the physical spaces and how can physical space be trauma informed. So that's why we have, as you mentioned, great smelling fragrance in each room. Each of the furniture matches is no longer a hodgepodge of random furniture. The wall colors are meant to be calming and soothing. So we were very intentional in making sure that the survivor is going into their physical space and smelling a room that's really pleasant and nice. Right. So I'm glad you noticed that.
Yeah, I did, because I think I was very stressed out because of finals. So the moment I walked in, I was like, oh, this is great.
It's probably the sensory room that you feel better now. Okay, so let's see. We could go into this room. So this is one of our counseling and meeting rooms with clients. So as I mentioned before, we were very intentional with our physical space. So before, we used to accept random donations of furniture because we're a nonprofit, resources are limited. So of course, back then we're like, oh, if you want to donate a couch, great, we need it here at the center. But again, to be trauma informed with our physical space, we're like, well, what are we telling our survivors when they come into the room and nothing matches and it's just really random old furniture? What are we telling them? So we decided, no, we can't do that anymore. So we changed our furniture so that it is no longer pleather, because if you are wearing shorts and you sit down, it feels cold to the touch. Yeah. Like, do you like the feeling of pleather against your skin? Probably not, right? So same with survivors. We want them to feel as comfortable as possible. So everything's soft touch, the colors coordinate. This type of green and blues are calming. So we want, again, the survivors to feel as comfortable as possible because we really want them to focus on their counseling or when they're receiving their services.
Yeah, so it seems that, it's been really well thought out, what the work you do here, and in terms of the census as well as the processes. So how many families, if you were to approximate, do you all help with your services?
Yeah, so each year we provide between 400 to 500 individuals and families in our housing program. But if we include non-residential clients, including those that we provide training and education to out in the community, we serve about 1,500 unduplicated individuals each year. So 1,500.
That's a great number. And is that limited to Fullerton or all throughout Orange County?
All throughout Orange County. And then for our intervention services, you could come from Mexico or Texas or Vermont. If they need to be here and they need a safe place, then we accept them. So we don't have any geographic boundaries or barriers to our services. But for our prevention arm, where we go out in the community to educate, we generally stay around this region, so Orange County, South LA, and a little bit of Inland Empire.
Understood. So I know people can call the hotline and get your services. What other ways are there to contact the facility?
So we have a text and email support line. So those that don't feel comfortable talking on the phone, and I know what you're talking about. A lot of people these days prefer text messages or email. So love@wtlc.org is our support email line. Mm-hmm. So we also, the same staff at the helpline office also respond to email and text inquiries.
Understood. Alrighty, so what's next?
So this is just another room. One of our contracts that we have is a supervised visitation program, which is a contract that we have with the OC Family Courts. So this is one of the rooms that the non-custodial parent could spend time with their child. And you might be asking, why would WTLC want to do supervised visitation, or how does that relate to our mission or the work we do with survivors of domestic violence? Well, the reason is because majority of all supervised visitation cases, it's because there's some kind of domestic violence at the home. So we really want to be able to help all families, even the non-custodial parent, in seeing and spending time with their kids, for them to find another place that provides supervised visitation. It might cost a lot of money because these are private places, but we don't charge anything at all. So it's less of a burden for the parent to spend time with their kid. And the other thing that I didn't mention earlier is our vision is to end the cycle of violence. And in order to do that, we know that we need to provide support to those that cause harm. For the longest time, us as a movement and as an industry, we've ignored literally half of the population who are directly involved with domestic violence. So what we're seeing is, well, if we're only helping the survivors and not the people that cause harm, well, what are they going to do? They're going to be in another relationship and they're going to repeat the same cycle of violence, right? So what good does that really do in the long term? Not really. So we wanted to open our doors and provide counseling services such as anger management, couples therapy, just additional support for those that do cause harm so that they could learn healthy coping skills so that when they get in a new relationship, they're not using violence or abuse with their new partner. So they also come to this building to receive our services.
Wow, that's actually very interesting and very insightful, right, of WTLC to do that. So you mentioned that you offer this space for free to parents who want to meet their children.
Yeah.
Does that mean that WTLC then also works with the police and with the court systems to kind of make sure that these, it goes on smoothly and the space is offered to them?
Yeah, so we have close partnerships with all local law enforcement, especially Fullerton PD. There are cases where some survivors have to be escorted by law enforcement directly to our program. And one story that I could share with you is someone that was really physically beat up by her partner to the point where she had to go to the emergency room. She had 2 broken ribs, really beat up face, black eye, really swollen face, and she didn't have any safe place to go. So when she was being released from the emergency room, Fullerton PD directly escorted her into our shelter program, and from there we just were really able to make her comfortable in her shelter space. We provided with her everything that she needed. She had a very difficult time like coping with what just happened to her. Right. But yes, sometimes we get cases where it's very unfortunate like that. So not all people who come into our shelter is obviously escorted by law enfortment with being physically abused, but sometimes we do get cases like that. Yeah.
So, I think it's really commendable that WTLC just works with, what's here in Fullerton and, the police department and perhaps also other organizations.
Yeah. So one thing to know that for some survivors, being in a same city where they live may not be the best idea. So they are looking for another area. So if there's another organization, let's just say in, I don't know, Pomona, and they call us and say, oh, we have a survivor that called us, but we think maybe them staying here is not a good idea. Can they come to WTLC? So we say, yes, of course. So sometimes the organizations who are in the same field as us, we do coordinate with each other if there's a safety concern because of the location of where the survivor lives and where the abuser lives. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So this is our pantry, and a lot of times we do give gift cards to the families in our shelter program because we want them to choose their own groceries and the food that they want to eat. But sometimes we get a lot of love and love and support from our community, and they do food drives for us, which is awesome. So Thanksgiving just passed, and we received a lot of donations from our community partners so that we could give away Thanksgiving baskets. So we have some leftover tablecloth and some canned food that we provided. But this year, we assembled over 100 Thanksgiving baskets and then distributed them to past and current families that we served.
So, if community members or organizations or clubs, anyone is interested in donating here, how would they go about doing that?
So the best way is to probably call our administrative office or our email, which is info@wtlc.org, and we could totally coordinate any donation drives or volunteer effort to WTLC.
What about job opportunities?
Well, are you looking for a job?
Maybe, or maybe somebody who's watching is looking for a
Yeah,
job.
so definitely we are looking for individuals who are really wanting to make a difference in the community. You know, yes, you could work at a corporate office and, you know, and do well and be successful, and that's really okay. But for some other people, they want to make sure that whatever they're doing for a majority of their life is actually making a change into the community that we live in, right? So working for a nonprofit is such a great idea. And just like with any other organizations, we have jobs and job openings. So check out our website to see what our current vacant positions are.
So we're currently filming this November 30th. So do you have any events coming up perhaps in the new year that people could attend?
I'm sad that you weren't able to come to our 3/4 dueling panels time. That was at the end of October. That's a really fun, intimate fundraising event that we do. But our next big one is on April 29th, and that's our annual gala or ball. And we're planning to do a jazz festival, a jazz concert. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're available, save the date.
Okay. Alrighty. So where are we headed next month?
So I'm taking over to our Hope House, which is our capital campaign project, where we're building a new 4-bedroom home so that we could serve more survivors.
So, what advice would you give to somebody who's interested in starting a new nonprofit?
What advice? You know, the first advice is to do research, to really identify if there's a gap in needs for services for that community. And if there's a gap, definitely there's a role for your new organizations to be around to provide that services to those that might need it. Or the other option is to see if you could combine your effort with an already established nonprofit and then work together. So there's two options. But the reason why nonprofit sector is so great is because we fulfill a need that our government and the for-profit industries doesn't provide to the community. So as a nonprofit, we exist to fulfill that gap, right? So do your research and identify if there's any gaps. Oh shit, I wish Fullerton had this. I'm doing research, no other organizations are doing this. That might be a good reason to explore and start a nonprofit.
So thank you so much for the advice. So let's head over to Hope House now.
So this is our Hope House. This is a sneak peek. As you can see, it's still being constructed, but all the 4 walls are up. And again, we wanted to really take advantage of this underutilized property that we had. And the best thing for us to do is we need more bed space. So how do we do that? Well, let's rebuild a home so that we could serve more families, because as you know, housing is such a issue in Orange County, and that's particularly true for survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking. So we hope to finish this construction by maybe March next year in 2023, and maybe if you're available, I'll invite you to our ribbon cutting ceremony.
Awesome. we would love to come to the ribbon cutting ceremony. All right, so thank you so much, Mark, for showing us Hope House, for showing us WTLC's facility. And my last question before I let you go, who else should we interview in the Fulton community who's doing amazing work?
Wow, there's so many great people in Fullerton. It's so hard to choose one, but the first person that comes to mind would be, we work really closely with this organization, Pathways of Hope. They are in the homeless service provider industry. So although they're not domestic violence, there is this overlap between their organization and our organization. So so we do collaborate collaborate and we help each other out in terms of providing the most comprehensive services to survivors.
Wow, so pathways of hope. That's next here. So thank you so much for showing us around today. We had a lot of fun. I think it's a great facility. To not just for people to get help, but also for people to just learn more. So tell me a little bit about if you have any social media, YouTube channels, where can people learn more digitally?
We are on all the social media platforms. So come find us at WTLC.org is probably our most common handle. But if you just go to our website, all of the links to our social media accounts are on there. So please follow us, like us, and show us some love online.